Maya had been excited about the grand opening of the new shopping center in her town. She had heard all the buzz about the unique stores and attractions it housed. The day it opened, she and her friends were among the first to walk through its gleaming doors. The excitement was palpable, with families, groups of teenagers, and even solitary shoppers milling about, their eyes wide with curiosity and delight. The first strange occurrence happened in the evening. Maya and her friends had split up to explore different stores, planning to meet back at the central fountain in an hour. The fountain, a grand structure with water cascading from a massive sculpture of intertwined vines and flowers, was the designated meeting spot for most groups. It was a landmark that couldn't be missed, except for Maya's friend, Lily, who never showed up. Worried, Maya called Lily's phone, but there was no answer. She and her remaining friends searched the shopping center from end to end, checking every store and corner, asking shop assistants and security guards if they had seen Lily. But it was as if she had vanished into thin air. The festive atmosphere of the shopping center began to feel oppressive, the bright lights too harsh, the cheerful music too loud and discordant. The security team reviewed the CCTV footage but found nothing unusual. Lily was seen entering a clothing store, but there was no footage of her leaving. The police were called, and the shopping center was locked down for the night. Despite an extensive search, no trace of Lily was found. Maya couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that something was terribly wrong with this place. As night fell, the shopping center, which had been a hub of excitement, turned into a maze of shadows and echoes. Maya and her friends, now accompanied by the police, continued their search. The once inviting stores now seemed like gaping mouths, ready to swallow anyone who dared to enter. In the silence of the deserted shopping center, every creak and rustle sounded ominous. Maya found herself standing in front of the store where Lily was last seen. The mannequins in the window seemed to stare back at her with hollow eyes. She couldn't help but feel a chill run down her spine as she stepped inside. The store was eerily quiet, the racks of clothes casting long, sinister shadows. As she moved deeper into the store, she noticed something strange. One of the fitting room doors was slightly ajar. Approaching it cautiously, Maya pushed the door open. Inside, she found Lily's phone lying on the floor, the screen cracked. It was as if Lily had simply vanished, leaving no other trace behind. The fitting room felt colder than the rest of the store, and Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Her heart raced as she grabbed the phone and quickly exited the store. Back at the fountain, the police were organizing a more thorough search. Maya handed them Lily's phone, her hands trembling. The sense of dread she felt was growing stronger by the minute. The shopping center, which had seemed like a paradise just hours before, now felt like a labyrinth of nightmares. As the night wore on, Maya and her friends could only hope that Lily would be found safe, unaware that this was just the beginning of their ordeal. The following day, the shopping center reopened, and life seemed to return to normal for most. Yet, a dark cloud hung over Maya and her friends. The disappearance of Lily cast a long shadow over their thoughts, and the shopping center, once a place of joy, now felt sinister. Determined to find out what happened, Maya decided to return to the shopping center alone that evening. As she walked through the bustling corridors, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Every reflective surface seemed to hold fleeting glimpses of shadows that weren't there when she turned around. The once inviting stores now appeared as dark, menacing maws. She entered the store where Lily had last been seen, feeling a mix of dread and determination. The store was busy, but it felt different to Maya. She noticed things she hadn't before. Odd symbols carved into the fitting room doors, strange whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. She questioned the staff, but they all claimed to know nothing. Frustrated, Maya decided to take a closer look at the CCTV footage herself. She managed to convince the security guard to show her the tapes, hoping to find some clue that had been overlooked. As they watched the footage together, Maya noticed something chilling. In the frame where Lily was last seen, a shadowy figure appeared behind her, just for a split second, before both of them vanished. The guard rewound the tape several times, but the figure was always there, elusive and dark. Maya felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. This was no ordinary disappearance. Something supernatural was at play. Determined to uncover the truth, Maya delved deeper into the history of the shopping center. She discovered that the land it was built on had a dark past. Decades ago, it had been the site of a mental asylum, infamous for its cruel treatments and mysterious deaths. Rumors of restless spirits and dark rituals had plagued the area for years before the asylum was demolished and the shopping center erected in its place. With this new information, Maya felt a renewed sense of urgency. She reached out to a local historian who specialized in the paranormal. Together, they uncovered old blueprints of the asylum, revealing that many of its underground tunnels and rooms had been left untouched and simply built over. They theorized that these hidden spaces could hold the key to Lily's disappearance. Maya and the historian, armed with flashlights and a map of the old asylum, decided to explore the shopping center after hours. Sneaking in through a service entrance, they made their way to the area where Lily was last seen. Using the map, they found a hidden door behind one of the fitting rooms. It led to a dark, narrow staircase that spiraled down into the depths of the building. The air grew colder as they descended, and the silence was oppressive. Every step echoed ominously, heightening their fear. At the bottom of the stairs, they found themselves in a network of damp, musty tunnels. The walls were lined with ancient graffiti and bizarre symbols. Maya felt a growing sense of dread, but she pushed on, driven by the hope of finding Lily. As they ventured deeper into the tunnels, they heard faint, ghostly whispers. The historian explained that these were likely the voices of the restless spirits who still haunted the place. They followed the whispers, which grew louder and more distinct, leading them to a large, heavy door. With great effort, they managed to push it open, revealing a vast underground chamber. The chamber was filled with old medical equipment, broken furniture, and other remnants of the asylum. In the center of the room was an old, decrepit operating table, surrounded by shelves filled with dusty jars and strange artifacts. Maya's heart raced as she scanned the room, hoping to find any sign of Lily. Suddenly, she heard a faint, familiar voice calling her name. Following the voice, Maya discovered a hidden passageway behind one of the shelves. It led to a small, dark room where she found Lily, unconscious but alive, lying on the floor. Relief and fear washed over her as she helped Lily to her feet. The historian warned them that they needed to leave quickly, as disturbing the spirits could provoke their wrath. With Lily leaning on her for support, Maya and the historian retraced their steps through the tunnels. The whispers grew louder and more menacing, and they could feel a cold, malevolent presence closing in on them. Just as they reached the staircase, the temperature dropped dramatically, and a shadowy figure materialized at the end of the tunnel. Maya and the historian hurried up the stairs, the shadowy figure following them. They burst through the hidden door and into the store, slamming it shut behind them. The oppressive atmosphere lifted slightly, but the fear remained. They exited the shopping center, vowing never to return. Lily, now safe, had no memory of what happened after she entered the fitting room. The experience left Maya and her friends with a lasting sense of unease. The shopping center, once a symbol of joy and excitement, had revealed its dark, sinister heart. They knew that some mysteries were best left unexplored, and some places were better left alone. The ordeal left Maya and her friends deeply scarred. Lily had returned physically unscathed, but her mind remained a fractured puzzle. She experienced frequent nightmares and would wake up screaming, unable to recall what had frightened her so deeply. The once vibrant and carefree girl had become a shadow of her former self, haunted by memories she couldn't fully grasp. Maya couldn't let go of what had happened. She became obsessed with understanding the supernatural forces at play. She began researching the asylum more thoroughly, discovering that it had been run by a notorious doctor known for his cruel and unorthodox experiments. Many of the asylum's patients had died under mysterious circumstances, and their spirits were said to roam the grounds, seeking vengeance. One night, while poring over old newspaper articles and records, Maya stumbled upon a name that sent chills down her spine: Dr. Victor Hensley. The articles described him as a sadistic figure who believed he could cure insanity through extreme methods. His experiments had led to the deaths of many patients, whose souls were now trapped within the very walls of the shopping center. Maya decided to visit the local library to find more information about Dr. Hensley. There, she met an elderly librarian who seemed to know more than she let on. The librarian warned Maya that some secrets were best left buried, but seeing the determination in Maya's eyes, she reluctantly shared an old journal belonging to one of the asylum's nurses. The journal was a harrowing account of the horrors that had taken place in the asylum. It described how Dr. Hensley conducted bizarre rituals, believing they would grant him power over life and death. The nurse wrote about strange occurrences, ghostly apparitions, and an overwhelming sense of evil that permeated the asylum. The last entry hinted at a final, dreadful ritual that Dr. Hensley had planned but never completed. Maya felt a strange connection to the nurse's journal, as if it was guiding her towards something. She realized that the shopping center's construction had disturbed the restless spirits of the asylum, and Dr. Hensley's unfinished ritual had left a dark energy that continued to grow. She knew that to put an end to the hauntings, she would have to find a way to complete the ritual and lay the spirits to rest. With the help of the historian, Maya gathered the items mentioned in the nurse's journal. They included old medical tools, candles, and a book of ancient rites. They planned to return to the shopping center one last time, this time with a clear purpose. They believed that performing the ritual could break the curse and free the trapped souls. The night they chose was stormy, with thunder rumbling ominously in the distance. The shopping center was closed, and they managed to slip inside unnoticed. The place felt even more oppressive than before, the air thick with tension. They made their way to the hidden door and descended into the tunnels once again. In the underground chamber, they set up the items as described in the journal. The atmosphere was charged with energy, and the whispers of the spirits grew louder. Maya read aloud from the ancient book, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. As she spoke the final words of the ritual, the ground trembled, and the air became icy cold. A blinding light filled the chamber, and the shadowy figure appeared once more. But this time, instead of attacking, it seemed to dissolve into the light. The whispers ceased, replaced by a profound silence. Maya and the historian felt a wave of calm wash over them, as if the spirits were finally at peace. They left the shopping center as dawn broke, feeling a sense of relief and closure. The curse had been lifted, and the spirits of the asylum were free at last. Maya knew that the shopping center would never be the same for her, but she hoped that with time, it could become a place of normalcy for others. As for Lily, she slowly began to recover, her nightmares becoming less frequent. Maya and her friends vowed to support each other, knowing that they had faced something beyond comprehension and survived. The shopping center remained, but its dark legacy was now a part of their history, a tale of horror and redemption that they would never forget. Anna loved her job at the boutique in the bustling shopping center. The job gave her a sense of independence, and she enjoyed helping customers find the perfect outfit. The shopping center, with its maze of stores and constant flow of people, was a place she felt comfortable. However, on a chilly autumn evening, her sense of security was shattered. As the boutique prepared to close for the night, Anna noticed a man lingering outside the store. He was tall, with an unnerving smile and eyes that seemed to follow her every move. She brushed off the discomfort, convincing herself that he was just a harmless shopper. But when he walked past the store several times without entering, her unease grew. The man finally entered the store just as Anna was about to lock up. He didn't look at the clothes, but instead, his gaze was fixed on Anna. He approached her slowly, making her heart race. "Are you closing soon?" he asked, his voice smooth but with an underlying menace. Anna nodded, her voice caught in her throat. She told him they were about to close and he left, but not before giving her one last unsettling smile. That night, as Anna walked to her car in the dimly lit parking garage, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She quickened her pace, her footsteps echoing eerily in the empty space. She reached her car and glanced over her shoulder, her breath catching in her throat as she saw the man standing in the shadows, watching her. She quickly got into her car and locked the doors, driving away with her heart pounding in her chest. Over the next few days, Anna couldn't escape the feeling of being followed. The man's presence became a constant, haunting her during her shifts and making her paranoid even in the comfort of her own home. She saw him in the shopping center, always at a distance, but close enough to remind her that he was there. His gaze was a constant, oppressive weight on her shoulders. One evening, after closing the boutique, Anna decided to confront him. She couldn't live in fear any longer. Gathering her courage, she walked up to him as he stood near the entrance of the shopping center. "Why are you following me?" she demanded, her voice shaking but firm. The man smiled that same unnerving smile and said, "I'm just shopping. Is there a problem?" His calm demeanor only made her more frightened. Anna reported the man to the shopping center's security, but they dismissed her concerns, saying there was nothing they could do unless he broke the law. Frustrated and scared, Anna decided to take matters into her own hands. She started changing her routines, taking different routes to and from work, and parking in different spots. But no matter what she did, the man always seemed to find her. One night, Anna stayed late at the boutique, hoping the man would give up and leave. As she was about to close up, the lights suddenly went out. The shopping center was plunged into darkness, and Anna's heart raced as she fumbled for her phone. The emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows. She heard footsteps approaching and froze. The man emerged from the darkness, his face partially illuminated by the dim light. Panicking, Anna ran to the back of the store, locking herself in the storage room. She dialed 911, her hands trembling. "Someone's following me," she whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. "He's in the store." The operator assured her that help was on the way, but Anna felt the seconds stretch into eternity. She could hear the man moving around the store, his footsteps deliberate and unhurried. The police arrived just as the man began pounding on the storage room door. Anna burst into tears of relief as she heard the officers shout for him to step away. They apprehended the man and escorted him out of the store. One of the officers stayed with Anna, trying to calm her down. "You're safe now," he said, but Anna knew that the fear would take a long time to fade. The man was identified as Thomas Rourke, a drifter with a history of stalking women. He had been living out of his car and had become obsessed with Anna after seeing her in the shopping center. The police assured her that he would be charged and that a restraining order would be put in place. Despite this, Anna couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the memory of his eyes haunting her. Anna took a few days off work to recover from the ordeal. Her friends and family rallied around her, offering support and comfort. Despite their efforts, Anna found it difficult to return to her normal routine. The shopping center, once a place of security and independence, had become a place of fear and anxiety. Determined to reclaim her life, Anna decided to face her fears head-on. She returned to work, though she remained vigilant, always aware of her surroundings. The management of the shopping center increased security and installed more cameras, but Anna still felt a lingering unease. She couldn't shake the feeling that Thomas Rourke wasn't truly gone. A few weeks later, Anna received a package at the boutique. It had no return address, and her heart sank as she opened it. Inside was a single photograph of her, taken from a distance. The back of the photo had a message scrawled in a messy, hurried hand. "I'll be back." She dropped the photo, her hands trembling. The police were called, and they took the threat seriously, promising to find out who sent it. Days turned into weeks, and the police had no leads. The shopping center had become a place of constant vigilance for Anna. She developed a routine of checking over her shoulder, always alert to the possibility of danger. Her friends encouraged her to move, to start fresh somewhere else, but Anna refused. She wouldn't let Thomas Rourke dictate her life. One late evening, as Anna was closing the boutique, she heard a familiar, chilling sound, the creak of a door opening behind her. She turned to see Thomas Rourke standing there, his eyes wild and his smile twisted. "I told you I'd be back," he said, his voice dripping with malice. Anna's heart raced, but this time, she wasn't paralyzed by fear. She had prepared for this moment. Reaching under the counter, she grabbed the can of pepper spray she kept there. With a quick, practiced motion, she sprayed Thomas in the face. He screamed, clutching his eyes, and stumbled backward. Anna didn't waste a second. She ran out of the store, shouting for help. Security guards, alerted by the commotion, rushed to her aid. They subdued Thomas, holding him until the police arrived. This time, Thomas Rourke was taken away in handcuffs, and the police assured Anna that he would face serious charges. The fear that had gripped her for so long began to loosen its hold. She had faced her stalker and won. The shopping center, while still a place of unease, became a symbol of her resilience. Anna knew that the scars of her ordeal would take time to heal, but she also knew that she had the strength to overcome them. With the support of her friends and family, she began to rebuild her sense of security and independence. The shopping center, once a place of terror, slowly became a place where she could reclaim her life and her sense of self. Months later, Anna stood outside the boutique, watching the shoppers go by. The shopping center had returned to its bustling, lively self. She felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had faced her worst fears and emerged stronger. The management of the shopping center had implemented new security measures, ensuring that it was a safer place for everyone. Anna resumed her life, no longer looking over her shoulder at every turn. She knew that she could never completely forget the terror she had experienced, but she had learned to live with it, to draw strength from her survival. The shopping center, once a place of fear, had become a testament to her courage and resilience. And with each passing day, she felt more at home, knowing that she had the power to face whatever challenges life threw her way. The story of Anna and her stalker became a cautionary tale among the shopping center's community. Her bravery inspired others to be vigilant and to support one another in times of need. The shopping center, once just a collection of stores, had become a symbol of resilience and unity, a place where people could come together and find strength in each other. And so, Anna continued to work at the boutique, helping customers and living her life. The shadow of fear that had once loomed over her had been replaced by a light of hope and empowerment. She knew that, no matter what, she would always have the courage to face the darkness and emerge victorious. Emma had always been fascinated by urban legends. A young journalist with a penchant for the supernatural, she loved investigating eerie stories that others dismissed as mere myths. When she heard about the strange occurrences at the old Greenfield Mall, her curiosity was piqued. The mall, once a thriving shopping destination, had fallen into disrepair and was now mostly abandoned. Rumors of hauntings, strange sightings, and mysterious disappearances had swirled around the mall for years. Emma decided it was time to uncover the truth. She started by interviewing locals, who were more than willing to share their eerie tales. One elderly man spoke of ghostly figures seen roaming the empty corridors at night. A former security guard recalled hearing whispers and footsteps when he was alone on his rounds. There were even stories of shoppers who had ventured into the mall and never returned. As Emma dug deeper, she discovered a disturbing legend that seemed to explain the mall's dark history. According to the legend, the mall was built on the site of an old hospital that had burned down under mysterious circumstances. It was said that the spirits of those who perished in the fire still lingered, angry and vengeful. The hospital had been run by Dr. Heinrich Bauer, a man rumored to have conducted unethical experiments on his patients. His spirit, it was said, now led the other restless souls in haunting the mall, seeking revenge on the living. The more Emma learned, the more determined she became to explore the mall herself. She planned a nighttime investigation, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. She enlisted the help of her friend Jake, a skeptical but supportive photographer, and Mia, a tech-savvy paranormal enthusiast. Together, they prepared for a night they would never forget. The night of the investigation was cold and clear, the full moon casting an eerie glow over the deserted mall. Emma, Jake, and Mia met in the parking lot, their equipment packed and ready. The mall loomed before them, its darkened windows and silent halls filled with an ominous presence. Emma felt a shiver of excitement and fear as they approached the main entrance, which had been left slightly ajar. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of mold and decay. Their flashlights cast long, flickering shadows on the walls, revealing cracked tiles and graffiti-covered storefronts. Emma led the way, her heart pounding as they ventured deeper into the mall. They passed through the food court, where tables and chairs were overturned, and into the central atrium, where a once grand fountain now stood dry and crumbling. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional drip of water and the scurrying of rats. Mia set up her equipment, placing motion sensors and infrared cameras around the atrium. Jake snapped photos, capturing the eerie emptiness of the space. Emma held up her digital recorder, hoping to catch any EVPs, electronic voice phenomena. She asked questions into the darkness, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. "Is there anyone here with us? Can you tell us your name?" For a long time, there was no response. Then, just as they were about to move on, a cold breeze swept through the atrium, sending a shiver down Emma's spine. Mia's motion sensors beeped, indicating movement nearby. Jake's camera flashed as he took rapid shots, capturing what appeared to be a faint, ghostly figure in the corner of the atrium. Emma felt a chill of fear and excitement. They were not alone. As they moved deeper into the mall, the atmosphere grew even more oppressive. The temperature seemed to drop, and Emma could see her breath misting in the cold air. They entered what had once been a department store, its aisles now filled with shadows and debris. Mia's equipment continued to beep intermittently, indicating the presence of something unseen. Emma called out again, asking for a sign. The response was immediate and terrifying. The shelves around them began to shake, and a low, guttural moan echoed through the store. Jake's camera captured a series of rapidly moving shadows, and Mia's sensors went haywire. Emma felt a cold hand brush against her arm, causing her to yelp in fear. She turned to see nothing but darkness, but the sensation lingered, sending a jolt of terror through her. They pressed on, their fear mingled with determination. They reached the back of the store, where a set of stairs led down to the basement. According to the legend, this basement had once been part of the hospital's morgue. Emma hesitated at the top of the stairs, her heart pounding. "This is where it gets real," she whispered. Jake and Mia nodded, their faces pale but resolute. They descended the stairs, each step echoing in the silence. The basement was even colder and darker than the rest of the mall. Their flashlights revealed rows of old storage rooms, some still filled with dusty, decaying medical equipment. Emma felt a sense of dread as they moved deeper into the basement, the air growing thicker and harder to breathe. They reached a large, rusted door at the end of the hall, its surface covered in strange, indecipherable symbols. With a sense of foreboding, Emma pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, revealing a large, dimly lit room. In the center of the room stood a row of metal tables, their surfaces stained with dark, dried blood. Mia's camera captured everything, the eerie glow of the room casting long shadows. They spread out, examining the room. Jake discovered an old journal hidden in a drawer, its pages yellowed with age. Emma opened the journal carefully, reading the scrawled handwriting. It was the diary of Dr. Heinrich Bauer, detailing his experiments and the fire that had consumed the hospital. The entries grew increasingly erratic, filled with descriptions of dark rituals and summoning spirits. The final entry spoke of a curse placed on the hospital, ensuring that the spirits of the victims would remain trapped, forever haunting the site. As Emma read aloud, the room grew colder and the lights began to flicker. The shadows on the walls seemed to come alive, writhing and twisting. Mia's equipment recorded a spike in paranormal activity, and Jake captured a series of increasingly disturbing images. The air grew thick with a sense of malevolence, and Emma felt a crushing weight on her chest. "We need to leave," she gasped, but the door slammed shut behind them. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped. The shadows converged, forming into dark, humanoid figures. The air filled with whispers and cries, the voices of the spirits trapped in the mall. Emma clutched the journal, searching for a way to break the curse. Her eyes fell on a final, desperate note. "Only by acknowledging our suffering and seeking forgiveness can we be free." Desperate, Emma began to speak to the spirits, apologizing for the pain and suffering they had endured. She begged for their forgiveness, her voice trembling. The shadows paused, their forms flickering. Mia and Jake joined in, their voices echoing in the dark room. The oppressive atmosphere seemed to lighten, and the shadows began to dissipate. But then, a new presence emerged, the figure of Dr. Heinrich Bauer, his face twisted with rage and hatred. "You cannot undo what has been done," he snarled. The shadows surged forward, driven by his malevolent will. Emma felt a wave of terror, but she stood her ground, holding the journal aloft. "You will not keep them here forever," she shouted. "Your power is not absolute." Jake and Mia worked frantically to set up a circle of protection, using the symbols they had found earlier. The shadows clawed at the edges of the circle, but could not breach it. Dr. Bauer's form grew more distorted, his rage intensifying. Emma continued to plead for the spirits, urging them to resist his control. "You have the power to be free," she cried. "Do not let him bind you any longer." The air crackled with energy as the spirits began to break free from Bauer's grasp. The shadows turned on him, their forms merging into a swirling vortex of darkness. Bauer's screams filled the room as he was consumed by the very forces he had sought to control. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the room was filled with a bright, cleansing light. The spirits, now free, whispered their thanks before fading into the light. With the spirits at peace, the door to the basement swung open. Emma, Jake, and Mia hurried up the stairs, relief flooding through them. They emerged into the atrium, the first light of dawn filtering through the cracked skylights. The mall, once filled with darkness and fear, now felt strangely serene. They packed up their equipment, their minds reeling from the night's events. As they left the mall, they made a vow to document and share their experience, to warn others of the dangers that lurked within the abandoned building. Emma wrote a detailed article, combining their findings with the stories of the locals. Her piece gained widespread attention, and soon, the legend of the Greenfield Mall was known far and wide. The authorities, spurred by the public interest, decided to investigate the mall themselves. They found the hidden basement and the remains of the hospital, confirming Emma's story. The mall was sealed off, and plans were made to demolish the building and create a memorial for those who had perished in the fire. In the weeks that followed, Emma, Jake, and Mia continued their research, delving into other urban legends and paranormal occurrences. Their experience at the Greenfield Mall had strengthened their resolve, and they were determined to uncover the truth behind other mysterious events. They formed a small investigative team dedicated to exploring and documenting the supernatural. Their work took them to other haunted sites, each with its own dark history and restless spirits. They faced new challenges and dangers, but their bond grew stronger with each investigation. Emma's articles gained a loyal following, and their findings were compiled into a series of books, bringing awareness to the paranormal and the need for understanding and compassion for the spirits that lingered. Despite the dangers, Emma found a sense of purpose in their work. The terror she had faced at the mall had transformed into a drive to help others, both the living and the dead. She knew that there were still many mysteries to uncover, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, their story continued, a tale of courage, mystery, and the fight against the darkness that lies just beneath the surface of everyday life. The legend of the Greenfield Mall became a symbol of their journey, a reminder of the power of forgiveness and the strength of the human spirit in the face of the unknown. I had just started my new job as a night security guard at the Westgate Mall, a sprawling complex on the outskirts of town. The mall, once a bustling hub of activity, had seen better days. Many of its shops were now closed, their windows plastered with "for lease" signs. I was eager for the job, hoping it would help me save up for college. I didn't know that the mall had a history of mysterious disappearances and strange occurrences. On my first night, I met Tom, the veteran security guard who was showing me the ropes. Tom was a grizzled man in his 50s, with a permanent scowl etched into his face. He handed me a flashlight and a radio, instructing me to patrol the ground floor while he took the upper levels. I nodded, trying to mask my nervousness. As I walked through the dimly lit corridors, the silence was unnerving. The mannequins in the closed stores seemed to watch me with blank, unblinking eyes. I shivered, feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. I brushed off the feeling, attributing it to first-day jitters. Midway through my shift, I heard a faint noise like whispering, coming from the food court. I paused, listening intently. The whispers grew louder, but I couldn't make out any words. My heart raced as I approached the source of the sound. The food court was empty, the chairs stacked neatly on the tables. The whispers stopped abruptly. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the eerie encounter. I continued my patrol, but the feeling of being watched persisted. Every shadow seemed to move just out of the corner of my eye, and every creak of the building made me jump. I reached for my radio to check in with Tom, but there was only static. An hour later, I found myself near the entrance to the basement. The heavy door was ajar, a cold draft emanating from the darkness below. I knew it was off-limits, but felt compelled to investigate. As I descended the stairs, the temperature dropped sharply. The basement was filled with old and used equipment and boxes of forgotten merchandise. In the far corner, I saw a figure hunched over, moving slowly. "Hello?" I called out, my voice echoing in the empty space. The figure turned, revealing a pale, gaunt face with hollow eyes. It let out a guttural moan and lurched towards me. I stumbled back, dropping my flashlight. In the darkness, I fumbled for the stairs and ran back to the ground floor, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The next day, I confronted Tom about the basement. Tom's expression darkened, and he pulled me aside. "You shouldn't have gone down there," he said in a low voice. He explained that the basement had been sealed off for years due to a series of unexplained incidents. Workers reported seeing apparitions, hearing strange noises, and feeling an oppressive presence. Eventually, the management decided it was safer to lock it up and forget about it. I couldn't shake the memory of the figure I had seen. That night, I was even more on edge. Every sound seemed amplified, every shadow more sinister. As I walked past the darkened storefronts, I caught glimpses of movement from the corner of my eye. But when I turned to look, there was nothing there. Around midnight, I heard the whispers again, this time coming from the toy store. The door was slightly open, even though it should have been locked. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The air was heavy, almost suffocating. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. I shone my flashlight around, but there was no one there. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around, my heart pounding in my chest. The toys on the shelves seemed to come to life, their eyes following my every move. I backed away slowly, reaching for the door handle. When I touched it, a jolt of cold shot through my arm, and I heard a voice whisper in my ear, "Get out." Determined to uncover the truth, I began researching the mall's history. I found old newspaper articles about the construction of the mall and the strange events that plagued it from the beginning. Workers had gone missing, and there were reports of ghostly apparitions and unexplained accidents. The mall was built on the site of an old asylum, which had burned down decades ago under mysterious circumstances. I discovered that many of the people who disappeared had last been seen near the basement. The more I read, the more I realized that the mall was a magnet for dark forces. The basement seemed to be the epicenter of the activity. I knew I had to go back down there, despite the danger. Armed with a stronger flashlight and a sense of determination, I descended the stairs once more. The basement was just as cold and dark as before. I moved cautiously, my flashlight beam cutting through the thick shadows. As I approached the far corner, I saw the figure again. This time, I was prepared. "Who are you?" I demanded. The figure turned slowly, its hollow eyes locking onto mine. It opened its mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Instead, a wave of despair washed over me, nearly knocking me off my feet. I braced myself, refusing to back down. The figure began to move towards me, its movements jerky and unnatural. I held my ground, shining the flashlight directly at it. The light seemed to weaken it, and it recoiled slightly. Gathering my courage, I took a step forward. "What do you want?" I shouted. In a voice barely above a whisper, it replied, "Help us." I was stunned. I hadn't expected it to speak, let alone ask for help. The figure's eyes were filled with an ancient sorrow, and I realized that it wasn't just one spirit, it was many. The souls of those who had perished in the asylum fire were trapped here, unable to find peace. I promised to help them, although I had no idea how. The figure nodded slowly and began to fade away. As it disappeared, the oppressive atmosphere in the basement lifted slightly. I knew my task was far from over. I had to find a way to release the trapped spirits and put an end to the mall's dark history. Over the next few nights, I gathered information and supplies. I spoke to a local historian who specialized in the occult, and she provided me with a ritual that might free the spirits. It involved purifying the basement with a mix of herbs and salt, then performing a series of incantations to break the bonds holding the souls captive. On the final night, I entered the basement one last time, carrying the necessary items. The air was heavy with anticipation. I started the ritual, spreading the herbs and salt in a circle. As I chanted the incantations, the temperature dropped even further, and the shadows seemed to press in on me from all sides. As I finished the ritual, a blinding light filled the basement. The spirits appeared, their forms shimmering and translucent. They were no longer twisted and tormented. They looked peaceful. One by one, they approached the circle and stepped into the light. As they did, they vanished, leaving behind a sense of calm and serenity. When the last spirit had departed, the light faded, and the basement returned to its normal state. I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The mall was no longer haunted, and the trapped souls were finally free. I climbed the stairs, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The next morning, I handed in my resignation. I couldn't continue working in a place that held so many dark memories. As I walked out of the mall for the last time, I glanced back and saw Tom watching me. He gave me a nod of approval, and I knew I had done the right thing. I never went back to Westgate Mall, but I heard that business picked up and the mall started to thrive again. The dark history was forgotten, and the whispers in the shadows were silenced. I moved on with my life, but I would never forget the spirits I had helped and the terror I had faced.